Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Real inspiration for real innovators. If you're looking for innovation and leadership transformation, your journey starts now.
Welcome to the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Born. If you're enjoying these innovation insights, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a future episode. By following the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast, you'll stay at the forefront of trends, strategies, and real-world examples that guide today's innovators. And today we are so excited. We have two guests for you today. We are going to be speaking with Doug Vanderlinde and Quentin Florence. I have also had the opportunity to be on their podcast, so you'll have to go follow their podcast and look for that opportunity to listen to that episode as well. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Doug and Quentin lead Coplanar Capital, and today we are going to talk to them about their faith-driven mission with investing, which I'm so excited about. We haven't had a topic like this on the podcast. And so we are going to talk about different types of funds. We are going to talk about investments. We are going to talk about startups, how to think about getting an investment. So I'm excited today because this is a hot topic for us and it's brand new to the podcast. Guys, welcome to the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Natalie. It's great to be here.
Thanks, Natalie. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Okay, take us into investing 101. So a lot of times, we hear about new to venture capital. We hear all these terms, and not everybody is necessarily on the in crowd of what all this stuff means. So I'd love for you to just give us a little bit of foundation on investment before we dive into some of these topics.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. So investing at its core is simply putting money into something and then hoping that it grows, right? But at Coplanar, we like to dive a little bit deeper because we view investing as a calling. Mm-hmm. It's truly a stewardship over the resources you have so that you can multiply what's been entrusted to you. So investing simply is you're taking the resources you have and putting them into something that can multiply.
Wow. I love that definition because it really speaks to the idea that I even think about the parable of the talents, right? One person was given a talent, someone else was given 3, someone was given 5. What do you do with the money that you've been given? Not everyone gets the same amount, but what do you do with what you do have? And so I like that very foundational definition of investment because I think we can all understand it. Thank you for that, for not taking us into the deep end yet. So if that's kind of the idea, talk to us a little bit about what Coplanar does and how you guys think about, some of these opportunities that come your way. So Doug, tell us a little bit about investing today. What does that actually look like as we take that foundational idea? Would love to know, how do you guys as a firm look at this and what are some of the things you're thinking about?
Sure. That it's on investors' minds of A, how do I do this? And B, how do I get good at doing it? And the industry's at a very interesting place right now because the big funds are getting bigger, and too often they get bigger by better marketing than they get better returns. And so what really drove us to start Coplanar Capital is, why can't we get outstanding returns and do something that's really good for the world? Because too often, we like to use the analogy of the Dead Sea. Too often, these big firms just get all of these assets coming into their firm and they don't go anywhere. It's just an accumulation. And that's what Quentin was referring to. It's all about more. And yet our calling, what we feel Coplanar Capital is called to do, is to multiply, to take the more and multiply that and do something good for the world and all its inhabitants.
Wow, that's a really big calling. It is. I mean, because you really have to think through the end-to-end company that you're investing in. Now you're thinking about the people that you're investing in as well. It's not just the widget. Is it going to return X multiple. You're now thinking about the people behind that widget and the call that they have. And so I'd love to just maybe hear some stories, Quentin, if you want to tell us a few stories of kind of maybe just some profiles of how you guys look at who you're going to invest in and what are you looking for when you're thinking about these people and their stories.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say if you're a founder of a company and you're listening today and you are thinking about making a pitch deck or you're looking for investment, the first question that I would ask myself is, what does your company say about you? Every day, Doug and I receive hundreds of pitch decks about companies that have the next best invention, the next best technology, artificial intelligence, health benefits, and I can go on and on. So praise God, there is not a lack of innovation. That's why we love being on this podcast where innovation meets leadership, because what we do see a lack of is leadership with that innovation. And the leaders that we've seen that perform the best are those who are completely secure in their calling within their business, right? They know who they are, they understand what they are doing, and they totally understand what they have, right? We call it the I am, I have, and I do, right? You know who you are, so you're fully comfortable in leading your company, and then you know all the resources you have to accomplish the goals that you want to complete, and then you actually know how to do and execute, right? The number one thing we look at as investors, and this is not just Coplanar Capital, I will tell you, you can log on to any venture capital and you will see they start with the people. Are you a leadership team that can actually accomplish the goals that you say? And so I would just tell everybody, what does your company say about you? Because that is going to be the key to getting started with an investor.
Wow, that's really powerful. I do a talk for innovators where I talk about the top 5 fears. And I feel like the I am, I have, I do is really similar to what I talk about because most people fear failure, rejection, change, public speaking, and imperfection, the idea of not being good enough. And I think if we were to couch those into what you're talking about, if you don't know who you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there, it makes it really difficult for people to invest in you or invest in your business. So I really, really enjoy those 3 things. And also what it does is it makes people come face to face with whatever it is they're afraid of, face it head on and get to the other side of it so that they can bring the people that are with them on the journey along for success. So I really enjoy the I am, I have, I do. That's a really cool way of looking at that. Yeah.
And Natalie, I think what really that plays into, and we're not immune from it. This morning, Quentin could tell me, I'm like, talk me off the shelf, man. I have got a rejection route that's just haunting me and getting me fearful, getting me self-absorbed, getting me to, just because somebody said no, and for us, we love to win. I think that's kind of an ingrained thing, but for investors, what you seem to be finding is a shrinking comfort zone. Comfort is a lot like humility, where when you're investing and you get something, it can leave so soon, with just the turn of a day. And so what investors really need to be focusing on with their investments, and it's extraordinarily hard in public markets, is to really understand what is it, what is it that I do have? What is it that they're doing? And who is it that's doing it? So we can even turn that rubric onto our own investing model, just like the founders are using it on themselves.
That's so good. So I would wonder, once we get past the founder, and let's say you feel like the founder is solid, what makes a startup attractive to an investor? Once the founder's solid, maybe the leadership team is solid, what are some of the other kind of intrinsic things that would be looked for someone to get an investment?
All right. So you asked what do we look at outside of the management team? So there's 2 other aspects that we examine. First is the market. are you actually addressing a large addressable market? Because Doug and I have a calling, but that calling is to multiplication. And in order for us to multiply, we have to be going into a market that your technology or opportunity can grow in. And then the third thing we really look at is something that we call optionality. Are there more than one way? Is there more than one way to win? Right? We are looking at, in every startup we've ever seen, that we've ever invested in, something is going to fail. So what happens when it fails? How do you adapt? Can you pivot? And is there another way for us to win? So if we have the right people, leadership team that you described, if we have a large addressable market, and if we have multiple ways to win, at Coplanar, we view that as an advantageous investment.
And that sounds to me more powerful than just having a really polished, well put together pitch deck. It's more about understanding your market, understanding the size of the market. You often hear that called TAM, right? Total addressable market. It's understanding what your options are. If the wheels fall off of what you're currently doing, how are you going to be agile and shift? And there's so much in that's aligns with innovation and what you do in that space too, because it's the same idea. I have an idea, I have an innovation. How do I make sure that it's multifaceted and it's not just a one trick pony? And if that trick falls apart, I don't have anything else that I can lean into. And I think that's really powerful. So let's talk more about identity investing. I would love to kind of hear this, more about this word, Doug, if you want to jump in and take this one.
Sure.
What is that and how do we think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're at a time and place where we think courageous investing is what we're called to do in stewarding the assets that we have. Everybody has kind of grown and gotten more in what they're doing. And what we've seen in my experience is people look, or you start asking about their investment criteria or style or discipline. You can phrase it a lot of different ways. Some of them really go with their head. What do the numbers say? What are the metrics? I've got to build a graph. I've got to get a spreadsheet, that will tell me. And others are kind of like, I know a good idea in my heart when I have it. And the challenge with both models, really with investing as a whole, is what happened yesterday doesn't necessarily equate to what's going to happen tomorrow. It's, we talked about people. It's very much like people. You have an amazing 40-year employee that one day drives the forklift into the wall of the building. And you're what? I don't know. It's the same thing really with investing. And so what identity investing is when you understand that, who I am, what I have, and what I do, what part of that doing is, how can I invest into that? If I'm really looking for good returns, but I also want to do something productive with those returns, it's really powerful when you can do the research and you can find something that's really making your heart spark. Something that's really inside of you that says, now that's something I can get behind. Because especially when you move from public markets to private markets, in other words, public is mutual funds, stocks and bonds, and readily available things that anyone can buy. Private markets is finding a founder, an entrepreneur, someone with a good idea that's looking to take it to the next level. But in order to get there, they need some capital. And so investing there, whether it's as an equity stock or as a private credit bond, there's a lot of different ways that you can access it. But in our excitement about people moving out of that comfort zone to be a courageous investor is around that area of, this is something that I think could really be beneficial to the world and something that I know a lot about and get really passionate about.
So, one of the things that as we get into the idea of, founder-led organizations seeking investments, this could be a really scary thing for many founders as they think about how to kind of stand out on that ledge and ask for the next round of funding or whatever that looks like. What is the mindset that a founder should have as they're thinking about getting that investment or putting their foot forward for kind of a bigger investment into their business?
Yeah, so great question. And the mindset that I like to recommend for any founder, any entrepreneur really, is a relentless mindset. You know your calling, you understand that this is what you are created to do. So the results don't matter to you. You know, I'm a huge college football fan, and Nick Saban always talks about value the process over the results. And that's very true when it comes to business, right? Value your process, everything that you're putting together within your company. And if you succeed, great. If you fail, learn from it and jump right back in.
That's really good. Yeah, and it's interesting. I think about the fact that, failure and how we think about failure and how we process it, right? There are two ways to always process failure. We can process it through a lens of shame. We can process it through a lens of learning. And when we process failure through a lens of learning, we actually get better. When we process it through shame, we typically hide it. And then we don't want to show anybody about that failure. And what happens is because we're hiding it, we don't ever get to learn from it. And so I think that's such an important mindset. And I like what you said there about a relentless mindset. That is truly what it takes to be a founder. Some people say you have to be crazy, but I mean, it's truly the relentlessness that keeps you moving when everyone else is doubting you. Let's talk about this idea of double result investing. I know that everybody wants that, but how do we think about what that is and how to think about that, even through the lens of what you guys do at Coplanar?
Natalie, you just hit the you hit the point exactly on, and I can just see why people find such incredible value in time spent with you. But what we've found at Coplanar Capital is double result investing is not an either or. You don't get either great returns or a better world. You can have both. And I think founders need to understand that in their activities and the way that they approach their business, that there are investors, there are investments that are willing to say, we want you to get great returns and do things well for the world. Because too often the world, in a scarcity sort of mentality, has just accepted, oh, well, if it does good, it probably doesn't make good returns. And too many funds actually have been structured that way for people with, whether it's a mutual fund or an ETF. If we eliminate this or we eliminate that, or we screen for this, or we add double to that, that's, we're going to get an edge on the marketplace. And where we're standing is just continue to do amazing things to get sticky client products and solutions that they're willing to jump into the innovation with you. And in that, let's just make the world better. And we find that those organizations, those partnerships, those collaborations just bring so much life to all the people throughout the entire organizations, as well as ourselves.
I wonder, Doug, just as a follow-up to that question, how do people do that practically? I mean, I think some of us, when we think about like good citizen, good results, I mean, it's the Toms that come to mind for us, like, buy a shoe, give a shoe, or maybe Bombas with socks. Like, there's all these different, I think, companies, but I would imagine that there's not just a one size fits all way to do this. There's many different ways to approach that thesis of, good citizen.
I think it's a great question, Natalie, because the public markets and the purveyors in that marketplace tend not to be, or aren't allowed to be, completely transparent with everything that's in the portfolio for you to purview and take a look at. So I think it's, where are you around like-minded people? If your passion is, let's say, automobiles, where are you around other people in automobiles, and ask them, what does the automobile industry really need? but also who's doing something really amazing in the automotive industry that you could be a part of. So it's not an easy, just call 1-800, make an investment. But on the other hand, it's a lot closer than you may think it is. Your social circle may involve someone or someone who knows someone that has an investment opportunity that can change the trajectory of your life and really move you from accumulate to really taking those talents and multiplying.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who that's important for is the younger generation. They want that in a
Right
business.
on.
They care about that in a business. They're looking to be a part of something bigger than themselves.
And it's not millions of dollars either. You'd be amazed at how small some of the greatest innovations Quentin and I review are, and how easy it is you could get participation in that sort of upside at a very early stage, which quite frankly, for Quentin and I, that's where the fun is.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I will add one more practical way that, the entrepreneurs and innovators who are listening, impact your people.
Mm-hmm.
Truly impact your people. One of the best businesses we reviewed, it was just like a drink company, but the programs they did for their employees made their company better. The way they served them, the way they made sure their families were taken care of. Truly the founders of this company realized the better my people, the better the results. So he was doing double result investing by reinvesting in his people, and his company did well because of it. So a simple step is those that work for you, the contractors you work with, or even your customers, how can you serve and impact them better?
Wow. I love thinking about it like that. To your point, doesn't have to be buy a shoe, give a shoe. There's so many different ways that you can look at what does it mean to do good, and what does it mean to impact people, and the best place you can invest is back into the people that are helping you run your company day to day. I love that. What final thoughts would you guys have today for our listeners?
Well, I think for me, I always like to come on podcasts, and when I talk about investing, people view it as a black box. And I would like to tell your listeners, it's not a black box. Investing is just putting your resources somewhere that it can multiply. And whenever you are looking to invest, just make sure you are going where you are called to go. Something that gives you a heart spark, something that you believe in. Do not just base your decisions on the metrics. Because I think so many times investors, including myself, we've based our decisions on metrics, and we've truly missed the opportunity to make the change and make the impact that we want to make. So I just want to really inspire everyone to not just invest with metrics, whether that's your time, your talent, or your resources. Truly look where you can make an impact.
Love that.
That's beautiful. So Quentin, where I would add that is stop asking the question, do I have enough? And start asking the question, am I thinking big enough? Because those comfort zones are shrinking in everyone's lives. And it's really when we start building courage, putting our faith in front of our fear, that real multiplication happens.
Wow. Very powerful. Doug, where can we find and follow you guys?
Sure. We are Coplanar Capital. It's a geometric term, so it's www.coplanarcapital.com, innovatively. But Quentin and I also have a podcast, which you mentioned at the onset of the program. It's called DR Dialogue, for Dr. Quentin Florence there, as well as Double Result. So we'd love to have you join there too. And just again, thank you so very much for giving this great conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I love that your podcast has a double meaning. Very cool. Because it's all about double results as well. Well, thank you guys for joining me. This has been an absolute blast. You guys are always fun to hang out with. And I do want to encourage people to follow your podcast, go over there, check out our conversation, and learn so much more about investing. The world is your oyster as it concerns investing. So there's so many other things that you can learn from these two guys. Well, to our listeners, thank you for joining the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Remember, don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.
Thank you for joining us for the Innovation Meets Leadership podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our show on iTunes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Innovation Meets Leadership, and visit our site at innovationmeetsleadership.com for more innovation resources.
Hey, my new book is out, Set It on Fire, The Art of Innovation. Click on the link to learn more. And don't just get out of the box, break the box and set it on fire. Let's go transform something.